bar by the shuttered window, pipe smoke curling like ghosts in the gloam, talking of toning the pikes in the hedges, 98 boys who never came home, old men tracing the lines on the county, names like wounds that never closed, Wexford fields and storm black counties, whispered like a half-told rosary low. He tapped the coin with the foreign king's head, say this crown's not the lord of this land, it's the poor and the plow and the blood that was shed, not the weight of a stranger's hand. Green flag, broken crown, we were born in a conquered town, but the songs and the smoke rise up somehow. Green flag, broken crown, we won't bow, everything tell us, so us see, so us now. Green flag, broken crown. Mom hung washing where the lane meets the river, gunboats more like sharks in the rain. Priest spoke soft about patience and prayer, but the lads learned other words for pain. Round the back room, whispers and papers, drills at dawn on the farmer's land. Young ones dreaming of Vienna and armor, sticks for rifles clenched in their hands. Someone chucked X's on the barracks wall, said there's a reckoning coming one day, when the stories we drink won't be stories at all, we'll be writing them our own way. Green flag, broken crown, we were raised under red and brown, the heart of the island beats underground. Green flag, broken crown, we won't bow, we're in seas to us now. Green flag, broken crown. There by the quay stood a crooked doorway, old sign swinging the coastal wind, golden crown with a crack through the middle, someone painted the split line green. Inside voices like stones in a river, wolf tones name pass hand to hand, grimy storms and the boys in the heather, ghosts of a yet unrisen land. We raised our glasses rough and shaken to the dead and the unborn years, to the day when the crown on the sign outside would mean less than the flag in here. Green flag, broken crown, we were born in a borrowed town, but we're finding our own way out somehow. Green flag, broken crown, we won't bow, Éire sighs to us, seas to us now. Green flag, broken crown. Drums like thunder, oh bog and bay, boots on cobble, something on the way. Dodge a smile with his tired eyes, say remember this night when the rifles rise, when the GPO burns and the telegraph fall, you'll know it started here. We're a sign with a crack and a liquor, green taught a frightened boy not to fear. Green flag, broken crown, let the bells of the city sound, from the Boyne to the Bay, let the call go round. Green flag, broken crown, we won't bow, Éire sighs to us, seas to us now. Green flag, broken crown. Green flag, broken crown. Seas to us now, seas to us now. Green flag, broken crown.
Dublin woke in a coat of grey, tram stood quiet on Sackville Street, rain on cobbles, shop front shutters, smoke from chimneys, children's feet. We slipped out from the crooked doorway, from the sign with the broken crown, rifles wrapped in sacks of flour, heartbeats louder than this town. I said, son, you don't owe them chains, you were born for more than that yoke. So we marched with our Sunday best on our backs and fair lighter smoke in our throats, on the streets of Easter morning, under cold gunmetal skies. We were young and half remembering all the tales of long goodbyes, green and gold above the whispers gathered. Men in columns, eyes like steel. A nurse with a bandage roll in her pocket. A priest had forgotten how to kneel. Outside the GPO, the crowd fell silent. Padraig's voice cut through the rain. Words about a sovereign people hammered into bone and brain. Somewhere down at Boland's Mill, you could hear the first shot start. We just gripped the stocks and stared ahead with a prayer and a curse in our hearts. On the streets of Easter morning, under cold gunmetal skies, we were young and half remembering all the songs of long goodbyes. White and orange beside the green there, torn from some old rebel rag. On the streets of Easter morning, when we swore we'd keep that flag. Windows shattered like Sunday chalices, glass rained down on stone and skin. Horse of panic, women shouting, smoke where the telegraphs had been. Someone roared on old Rovers, half off key but fierce and wild, and the lads had sworn we won't bow in the bar. No sword with every fired round. We knew some would never come home, names to carve on prison walls. But better that than crawl forever under some far empire's calls. On the streets of Easter morning, where the GPO stood in flame, we were nobodies with borrowed guns, trying to live up to their names. Tone and Emmett in our footsteps, Pierce and Conley in our sight. On the streets of Easter morning, we stepped out into the fight. Éire and go brach, we cried to the smoke, voices crack and rifles sore, hoping someday in a freer time they'd remember what we stood here for. If we fell, let it be in the open streets, not hidden in some foreign ground. Let the children say they were fools or brave, but they heard the Easter sound. On the streets of Easter morning, under cold gunmetal skies, we were saints and we were sinners, we were prayers and we were lies. But the green flag over Dublin taught our trembling hearts somehow. What began on Easter morning makes it harder to bow now. Streets of Easter morning, streets of Easter morning. There's a road that runs where the old wall fell, past the gallows tree and the dry old well. If you follow the lanterns when the sun goes down, you'll find a crooked door and a painted crown. Sign hanging loose on a rusted chain, half painted fire, half painted rain. Step through the smoke and the roaring sound, you're home tonight at the Golden Crown. Raise your cups at the broken crown, to the ones who stand when the world burns down, to the calloused hands and the tired eyes who carry the realm when the banners die. We'll drink to the lost and the lives we found. Here together at the broken crown, there's a farmer's son with a soldier's scar, a girl who can shoot out every star, an old man laughing with a blackened helm, says I once marched for a different realm. In the corner a singer with a road-worn face plays low tunes of another place. Some swear they've seen him on the far ridge's brow, walking away from a
dark winds howl.
We'll ride somehow.
Who will stand when the gates fall in?
We'll stand here with our battered skin.
If no king comes on a silver steed, then we'll be the answer that we need. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Raise your cups at the broken crown.
To the crownless king who still walks this ground, to the nameless brave and the unsung few, whose stories shine when the night breaks through, when the last bell rings and the lights die down. We'll sing his name at the broken crown. We'll stand as one at the broken crown.
He was a shadow in the GPO, just another lad in green, till Frongok taught him different sums than any school had ever seen. He came home with a map and a notebook mind, walked a city lane by lane, said if they want to rule by fear and gun, we'll answer in a different game. In the back of the broken crown we heard the whispers start of the man who moved like a changing wind with the country in his heart. Here's to the big fellow, riding through the rain, with a price on his head and a laugh on his lips and a heart that carried our pain. Here's to the big fellow, who signed for dawn, not fame. If we live in a land of our own tonight, we'll remember Michael's name. He had lads on bicycles every street, eyes in every barrack door, files that weighed more than rifles did, names that shook the castle's core. In a Collins car on a narrow road he could vanish like a ghost, but he drank like any ordinary man when the night grew long and close. We watched him joke with the barroom crowd, then fall to quiet thought, staring past the froth and foam at the lines he'd never sought. Here's to the big fellow, riding through the rain, with a price on his head and a laugh on his lips and a heart that carried our pain. Here's to the big fellow, who signed for dawn, not fame. If we live in a land of our own tonight, we'll remember Michael's name. They sent him over the grey sea lanes, London smoke and puzzle rooms. He came back with a half-won piece, treaty ink and whispered dooms. Old friends stood on the other side, lines drawn through the same green field. One man raising his hand for war, one man praying swords would yield. We raised our glasses torn in two, couldn't call it loss or win, only knew that history had changed its face again. Peeled up black in the fading light, ambush shadows, wheels run dry, Cork road dust on a fallen coat. No more maps for one more Triceland laid a cara, the wild hillside as they carried him away. And the lads in the snug of the broken crown found nothing at all to say. Here's to the big fellow, gone before his time,
to the laugh that died on an Irish road, so the rest of us might climb. Here's to the big fellow. We'll drink to you again when we argue flags and curse old scars. We'll remember how you bled for them. Here's to the big fellow.
The broken crown when the brass band hit the square. Kids on walls with sticky hands, confetti in their hair. New coats on the councillors, old coats on the old guard men, saying tar lad, tiger lads, like the fight would never come again. Dev on a platform, hat in hand, voice rolling like a drum, saying this small island finally had the right to call itself its own. Flags in the rain, drums in the lane, we changed the clock but the march was the same. Cheering for colours we swear, on chains and streets that still remember pain. Flags in the rain, hearts in between, caught somewhere under the white and the green, trying to believe in this half-field dream with flags, flags in the rain. One lad wore his father's medal and wore his father's scar. Both sides claiming Michael's ghost, both sides packing up the bar. Posters peeling off the lamppost, different names, same old street. Arguing oh how free is free with the hunger still in our feet. We raised our glasses, talked too loud, spilled old grief on brand new floors. Sang a tone and Emmett still, but we weren't quite sure what for. Flags in the rain, drums in the lane, we changed the tune but the beat was the same. Shouting out promises, praise and blame on cobbles that remember pain. Flags in the rain, hearts in between, mascots folded with party leaflets green. Try not to watch what the slogans mean with flags, flags in the rain. News came crackling through the wireless north when names like Derry Falls. We watched boys under different banners learn new verses for old walls. In the snug an old man muttered, we swore no more dead for flags. But the TV glow on his weathered face looked like candlelight for lads. Éire knew they wrote in ink on parchment and on stone, but in every marching season some still stand too much alone. If a flag can lift you from your knees, it can blind you just the same. We learned that walking home at night through streets washed clean of rain. Flags in the rain, drums in the lane, trying to love what was born from the flame. Keeping one eye on the cost we paid in blood, in bone, in names. Flags in the rain, hearts in between, we'll drink to the living, we'll drink to the gone unseen. Children never have to bleed for flags, flags in the rain.
Queue at the door in the Dublin drizzle, tickets torn with a practice smile. School kids whisper in neon trainers, history yawns in a crooked file. Stone steps up to the gallery landing, iron rails and a winter chill. Tour guide talking over rebel martyrs, echoes hanging still. My hand slides over a numbered door, paint flaked off and tired gray. He says they wrote their last letters here, and his voice just drifts away.
Kilmainham cold, Kilmainham
where prayers were whispered into stone and hearts went out in smoke.
Kilmainham, hard Kilmainham, where the bullets found their mark.
But the words they wrote in the midnight hour still burn in Ireland's heart. I see a candle on a rough wood table, ink-stained hands and a borrowed pen. A young man bent over paper, shaking, trying not to cry again. Mogra, he writes to the girl in Galway, don't wear black for the likes of me. Take this love to a braver morning, tell our children we dreamed you free. He folds the page with a soldier's care, kisses the edge like a rosary bead, whispers Slán Lít Mo Cremo store to a life he'll never see.
Kilmainham, cold Kilmainham, where the morning guns once spoke.
Where letters stained with trembling hands flew farther than the smoke.
Kilmainham, hard Kilmainham, where the dawn refused to wait.
But the names they signed at the bottom line outlived the empire's hate. Yard lies small as a parish graveyard, sky pressed down like a watchful hand. White chalk circles on dark grey plaster, bullet scars in a quiet band. They say one came on a stretcher bleeding, rope and chair for a shattered frame. Still he sat like a Sunday altar, gave his body, spoke her name. Boots on gravel, rifles lifted, orders barked in a borrowed tongue. Pre-slow Latin whispered Irish, a dia coin echoing on his lungs. When the volley cracked through the April air, it split more than bone and bone. It rang down every prison stair, it shook this island stone.
Kilmainham, cold Kilmainham, where the morning guns once spoke.
Where blood ran thin on the chapel floor and rose like altar smoke.
Kilmainham, hard Kilmainham, where the future changed its course.
On a rain-dark yard and a line of men facing down the firing force. Now I stand in the after silence, phone on mute in my shaking hand. School kids laughing in the outer courtyard, life still arguing in this land. But when I walk back out to the Dublin light, through the gift shop and the cars, I swear I hear in the creak of the gate their footsteps in the yards.
Kilmainham, 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 Kilmainham.
Snug of the broken crown, rain on the windows, turf on the fire. Someone bangs on the table, shouting, name your ghosts and raise them higher. Priest in the corner, nursing a porter, nurse with whiskey in her tea. Ex-soldier with a limp and a medal, card shark grinning, dealing three. We are the children of 1,000 tales, some half true and some half lies. But every name we toast tonight put a mark in Ireland's skies. Saints
soldiers lined it all a year. Here's to Wolf Tone and his pikes in the hedges, dreaming a republic in the dock. To Grace O'Malley on the black Atlantic, boarding empire rock by rock. Here's to Pierce at the smoky post office, words like gunshots in the rain. To the big fellow laughing with death on his heels, carrying our growing pains. Here's to Dev with his pen and his stubborn eyes, building laws from shattered stone. Here's to Bobby in an H-block cell, whose body was the only vote he owned. Saints, sinners, soldiers, slain to all of you, those who starved and those who signed, those who broke and still came through. Saints, sinners, soldiers, raise your glass and see every vow and every fall wrote another page for free. Knowing Pika Éire, saints, sinners, soldiers, slain to all of ye. Trotting at the ford at dusk, standing down a rising tide. To the Fianna running through the misted hills, with the Banshee keening by their side. Here's to Wallace over in the northern rain, not our general but our kin, fighting his own crown and chain. Same cold steel, same old sin. Some were holy, some were cruel, some were drunk and some were wise, but they all threw stones in the same dark pool that ripples under Irish skies. So let no more children die for flags, no more martyrs made tonight. But if we singin' those long gone, let it be to keep us right. Saints, sinners, soldiers, slain to all of you, those who marched and those who hid, those who didn't make it through. Saints, sinners, soldiers, raise your glass and see where the last verse of their song, trying to live the word free. Knowing Pika Éire, saints, sinners, soldiers, slain to all of ye. Slain to all of ye. Newsman's voice on the kitchen radio, static dancing round every word. Mom stood still with the knife in her hand, like she wasn't sure what she'd heard. Ceasefire hold, he said twice over, like he didn't trust it yet. Kettle boiled itself to madness, no one reached to switch it set. Out past the peace line, out past the murals, kids kick balls in the turning light. For the first time in a long, long while, no one flinched at the fall of night. When the guns grew quiet, we didn't know what to say. Tongues trained for curses and battle cries, had to learn an ordinary day. When the guns grew quiet, you could hear your own heart drum, and we prayed that silence wasn't just the breath before the next one comes. Men in the bar of the Broken Crown watch the screen above the taps, storm on stairs and careful handshakes, lines on maps and voting scraps. One old lad said about damn time, another stared into his glass, thinking of a son in a hilltop grave with no more futures left to pass. See your kind of noise, someone whispered low, peace now, if peace can be. But the word felt strange on battle tongues that had only known enemy. When the guns grew quiet, we didn't know who we were. Heroes, villains, frightened children, lost in flags and ancient slurs. When the guns grew quiet, we had to face our dead. Far from slogans, far from marches, just the names inside our heads. Pants not petrol on a Good Friday, cues and rain for a folded sheet. Old women praying into rosaries, crossing dove on the ballot leaf. Kids drew rainbows over barbed wire lines, chalk on pavement, hearts on sleeves, writing no more where the boots once marched, trying hard to believe. We've buried enough under flags in the rain. We've shouted enough for the grave. If there's a thing worth fighting for now, it's the ones that we might save. So let the drums learn softer songs. Let the rifles learn to rust. And let our children curse us loud if we betray their trust. When the guns grew quiet, we stood between old and new, with one foot still in the stories of hate, and one in a sky turning blue. When the guns grew quiet, we didn't call it done, but we swore by God and by all our dead, no more children took up guns. When the guns grew quiet, when the guns grew quiet, when the guns grew quiet.
The rain on the glass is the broken crown. Same old leak in the corner roof. Same old crack in the painted sign where the golden crown sits aloof. Fires burn low to a bed of red. Band's gone home, the floor's been swept. Only a handful of stubborn hearts and the bar stools that they kept. But there's one by the door that nobody takes, though we never wrote it down. It belongs to a name we don't say too loud in this battered, breathing town. There's an empty stool tonight where you used to hold the light, with your laugh like breaking glass and your jaw set for the fight. We got peace on the news, but a war in this room, and a space that no one fills between the jukebox and the gloom. There's an empty stool tonight, and it hurts that you're not here to see the quiet. You were there on the streets of Easter morning. In every song you ever sang, you marched with Collins in our stories, raised your glass when the war drums rang. Flags in the rain were your favorite days. You'd roar till your throat turned raw. Said if it ever ends, I'll buy the first round for the kids who never saw. But you went under on a nameless road, blue lights, siren lies. Another line in the evening news no one saw behind your eyes. There's an empty stool tonight where you used to hold the light, where you curse the past and bless the dead and still go home alright. Now the ceasefire crawls across the screen, big men shake and smile, but I trade a speech and a headline page for your bad jokes for a while. There's an empty stool tonight. your glass on the counter and little shamrock on the rim. Barman wipes it like a relic, nods and leaves it filled to brim. Someone whispers, "Slán by, old boy," like you're just laid on the road. But the stool sits still like a gravestone carved in varnish, wood and smoke. They say, "See a kinda nice piece at last," and God, I hope they're right. But what do I do with the part of me that still wakes up ready to fight? So I'll fight to keep the guns asleep, to keep the flags from flame, and I'll fight to live a softer life, so your death is not in vain. There's an empty stool tonight, but we'll keep your spirit bright. In every song, in every shout, in choosing life instead of spite. If the guns stay quiet, if the kids play free, if the snakes don't rise again, we'll raise a glass to the space you left and call that our amen. There's an empty stool tonight, but the peace you never saw is slowly starting. Empty stool, broken crown, slaughter bile at your all.
Warning light on the leafy water, traffic humming where the trams once ran. A cold glass screen and a map to nowhere, same board set a different tongue. Walk past the gate of Kilmainham prison, the world keeps moving, souls in line. A nod to the stone and the ghost inside, let them rest, I've read their signs. My father marched, my grandfather fought, I just walk and watch the dead, trying to pay their debt in quiet, in the simple, stubborn way. Where the shamrock still grows through the concrete and clay, through the cracks in the yards where the children play, where the flags come down and the laughter stays, where we choose another way. If the guns stay silent and the wild winds slow, if our kids learn only the songs, not the blows, we'll say all that blood was a seed we chose, where the shamrock still grows. Broken crowns got a fresh coat of varnish, a heavy pour where the old pump stood, new faces laughing where the shadows lingered. The song they're singing still sounds good. There's a photo wall by the snug now, black and white eyes looking on, torn and piercing the big fellow's grin, faded like a half-remembered song. We still raise glasses now and then, name our saints and sinners too, but I drink more to the kids at the pool hall than the dead in black and blue. Where the shamrock still grows through the concrete and clay, in a schoolyard game in the morning grey, where they cheer for the man, not the tribe today, where the ghost or the hate fades away. If the walls keep crumbling and the old skies close, if the snakes think twice before they show, to say all that they ain't out of place, God knows, where the shamrocks still grows. Evening falls on a quiet city. Rain starts writing on the glass. I see my own face in the window pane, and the faces of the ones known past. So I whisper, slatted charity soft to the shadows in the cobblestone, then turn for home with my keys in hand, growled in a little less alone. Where the shamrock still grow through the concrete and play, through the music and talk at the end of the day, where we fight to be kind in a rough way, where we choose to let a lock stay. If they sleep through sirens, they'll never know. If they curse at traffic, not at foes, we'll say all we lost at a place God knows, where the shamrock still grows.
On a wind-torn hill by the grey-green sea, a stranger climbed with a crooked staff, storm in his cloak and fire in his eyes, crow on a stone like it watched and laughed. They say he called on the name of God. They say he shook that iron rod till every snake in Éire's fields fled to the waves at the word of a nod. But evil doesn't drown that clean, it just learns a different skin. You can chase it from the heather and the bog, it will move into the heart within. He drove the snakes into the sea, or so the stories say to me. But every age and every town grows its own scales and crown. The snakes don't live in fields alone, they curl in law and blood and bone. If you go hunting through the briar and stone, you might miss the one at home. Centuries turn like a rusted key, new flags flying where the old thorns grew. Red coats marched and landlords counted, tides on the pour for the chosen few. Tone raised pikes in the dripping hedges, Collins map ghosts in the city night. Men called snakes by other men for daring to say the land was theirs by right. We hang them in our ballot lines, we crown them in our prayers. But every time we blessed one side, another hissed beneath the stairs.
Boots on tarmac, bottles thrown, radio hymns and marching drums, names on murals, names on stones. Then a fragile piece, like a shy green shoot, pushed through concrete, flags and smoke, snakes in suits and screens and wires, selling new lies as holy jokes.
Ni vet here the lies na nothing if we only point and shout, if we never turn the lantern in to see our own shadows out.
So I'll teach my kids a Patrick staff of rebels, saints and guns, but tell them the last snake in Éire lives in any heart that hates someone.
He drove the snakes into the sea, or so the old one sang to me. But every time we choose to love, we starve one more quietly. The snakes don't live in